actually live. And today, y'all know why we're here. It's Bible study time, specifically for the book of Proverbs. And we are in the 16th chapter. Okay, so I didn't show up yesterday. Let's just not jump into this video and not just address the pink elephant in the room. Yes, we missed yesterday, Proverbs 15. It was Father's Day. It was a whole day. It was a whole situation. And so I wasn't able to be here and to be present. And my apologies. But today's Proverbs 16. I still hope that you read Proverbs 15. If not, go back and read Proverbs 15 so you can get your juicy, good wisdom for right direction and clarity for your living. Nonetheless, we're going to get into Proverbs 16 today without any more delays and with me rambling. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to read matter of fact, I want to read with the Proverbs, y'all. I think I've said this before. I read the Proverbs in different versions, just depending on which chapter I'm reading, because some versions are easier to understand. And not just that, they get like more simpler with it, more to the cellular level, the mundane level of understanding things. And so some of the Proverbs I will go to different commentaries, to different translations to read. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So give me a moment. Let me just welcome in everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let me just pull up what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to go to the easy standard, the easy read Bible for Proverbs today. That's where we're going. So we're going to be reading the easy standard version. And again, this is Proverbs, Barbara. Why are you pulling up Psalms? I apologize. I should have had this ready to go. Psalms, Proverbs 16. Okay, I got my whole life together now. And it reads People make plans in their minds, but the Lord gives them the right words to say. You may think that everything you do is right, but the Lord knows exactly why you are doing it. I'm going to read that one again. That's why I like this version, this translation of it. You may think that everything you do is right, but the Lord knows exactly why you're doing it. So sometimes you can be making plans and you can actually be doing things and you might rationalize it in your own understanding or make yourself, because sometimes we talk ourselves into things, right? You might say that, oh, I'm doing this or I'm saying this because of such and such and such and such. But today's Proverbs is calling to our attention that God knows our heart. God knows if you're really doing it for prideful reasons, if you're really doing it because you are trying to make a subliminal message, right? If you're doing it because you really want some credit, if your motives are not really for the right reason, God knows why you're doing it. Hi, Antonio. Thank you for the hearts. And so that's what verse 2 is saying. It's saying you may think that everything you do is right, but the Lord knows exactly why you are doing it. Mm. Verse 3 says, Put your plans in front of the Lord so that what you do will go well. Submit your plans to the Lord. Commit your plans to the Lord. Talk about it with the Lord, right? And then wait and give Him time to speak back to you so that guess what? You are in an alignment with what it is that He wants and His purpose for you. Because today, Proverbs chapter 16 is all about our vision, our plans versus our reality. It's all about our visions, our visions, our plans versus our reality. And we know that our realities are gonna align with what God, His plans, and His plans alone are the only sure, firm foundation in our lives. So let's keep going on. Verse 4. So we're on verse 4, chapter 16, verse 4. The Lord causes everything to have its proper result. Even wicked people will come to bad trouble in the end. I like that. The Lord causes everything to have its proper result. So no matter what you think it should look like, what you feel it should look like, what the plans you was planning. Because remember, we just got through talking about he know your heart. And the Bible says that the heart of man is wicked and evil. So if your motives and your plans for why you're saying things and doing things are coming from a malicious place, this verse is telling us ultimately God is in control and it ain't gonna turn out the way that you think or thought or hope it will if it's not for the good. Okay? Verse 5, the Lord hates everyone who boasts. Be sure of this. They will receive the punishment they deserve. Stop boasting. Boast only in the Lord and in his power and in his might. Amen. Glory be to God. Verse 6, if you love the Lord faithfully, he will forgive your sins. If you respect and obey him, you will not do evil things. Woo. Verse 7, if you live in a way that pleases the Lord, even your enemies will become your friends. If you do what is right, but you are not rich, that is better than to be rich because you cheat people. Let's read that again for more clarification, even as I'm reading it out loud. If you do what is right, but you are not rich, that is better than to be rich because you cheat people. Okay, so I guess it's trying to say here. Let's read it in another version because I actually do have the Tony version standard Bible with me. Better a little with righteousness than great income with injustice. So, okay, basically, this particular verse is saying it's better to have little and live righteous. Let it be honest living. Let it be honest gain to have than to have a lot, and you have cheated people and you have gained it by scheming. Ooh, ooh. For those of us who want to get quick, rich schemes, that's what it's talking about for you. For all of you people who want it quick and you want it fast and you want it now and you're really willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Today's chapter is coming to check you, right? Real quick. Verse 9, people make plans for what they will do, but it is the Lord who leads them in the right way. So God allows you to have free will. You can make plans because he gives you a heart with your desires. A lot of times, I was having this discussion with somebody and we don't understand when you have purpose and you have dreams and desires that's on your heart and they really compassion. They don't go away, right? You may put them down for a while, but you pick it back up. God has given you a dream or this burning desire to start the business, write the book, whatever it could be, and you don't really do it, but you can't get away from it. You can't figure out why you put it down, but you can't really kind of tuck it away and not pull it back out. You go back to it, you put it down. That's because God gives us the plans and the desires of our heart. He gives us those things. He plants this on our heart and he establishes the right way, the way that we should go. So that verse again reads, people make plans for what they would do, but it is the Lord who leads them. The Father leads and guides your heart in the right way, the path that you should take. A king speaks with God's authority. He must judge people in a fair way. The Lord wants people to use true weights and measures. He knows all the weights that a trader uses. He just wants honesty. We talked about that last week. Honesty matters, right? Fairness, justice. The Father wants it for all people, regardless of your title, your status, right? Regardless of how much money you have or don't have. God is looking for honesty and justice and fairness for all people, regardless. Kings hate all wicked acts because justice makes their government strong. Kings are happy to hear honest advice. They love people who speak true words. And I think what we're talking about here, right? We know it says kings, but when we think of kings, we think of people in power. people with high position, those who have the authority to make decisions concerning things that concern us, our jobs, maybe certain things that we're going after, financial decisions, just people who hold some power and authority, who you may seem to see that from your perspective in your eyes. And so when we think of kings, we want to think of power. But this verse is saying they like honesty. They're not looking for people who always want to just tell them what they want to hear, because that don't always lead to the success, right, of a business or situation. Sometimes if you have the courage to be honest and to be truthful, it can help stir the decision of that person who has to make the final decision, who may have the authority or the power. And so this verse is just saying they prefer honest words. They prefer honest decisions and opinions. Wow, they love people who speak true words. And it goes back again, right? Proverbs kind of repeats itself over and over again because it wants to take a root in our heart so that we can apply it in our lives. And once again, it goes back to what? Honesty matters. Honesty matters. Verse 14, someone may die if the king becomes angry with him. So a wise person will try to stop the king's anger. If the king smiles at you, your life will go well. If he is pleased with you, that is like a cloud which gives rain in the spring. It's refreshing. It is better to have wisdom than silver or gold. You should want to understand what is right and then do what is right. Understand what is right, then do it. Apply it, live by it, speak by it, walk by it, talk by it. Verse 17, honest people follow a straight road. It keeps them away from evil things. Honest people follow a straight road. And this straight road of honesty keeps them away from evil things, from evil people. I like that. If you want to keep your life safe, watch where you are going. Verse 18, if you are proud, you will soon come to an end. Anyone who boasts will soon fall down. You may be humble and have poor people as your friends, but that is better than if you have proud friends who give you things that they have robbed from others. Ooh! Can I just read that again? You may be humble and have poor friends as your friends, but that is better than if you have proud friends who give you things that they themselves have robbed from others. If you listen carefully to good teaching, you will have success. And if you trust in the Lord, you are in a happy place. If you have wise thoughts, people will say that you know what is right. If you speak kind words, people will accept your teachings. Wisdom is like a spring of fresh water. It gives light to those who have it. But the silly things that fools do will bring them punishment. Wise people think carefully and they speak wise words. Then other people will accept their teaching. Wise people, they kind of take a minute to stop and pause and think things through. We called them in last week chapter prudent people. These people stop and think before they are quick to blurt out or respond to what they think or how they feel. They take a couple of moments to think about what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, or if it's even worth responding to. We talked about that as well last week in Proverbs. There are boundaries that need to be set and put into place. Not everybody is worth a response. Not everything is worth a response. And then there are boundaries and perimeters that we must establish in our life when it comes to relationships, whether they are platonic, professional, romantic. There are boundaries. And then we need to be able to compartmentalize those people that we do speak to, and who we talk about and what we talk about, right? We talked last week about the fact that there are certain people that you can share certain things with. There are certain people who you can go and receive wise counsel from. And then there are some people you just gonna shoot the bobo with, and it's just gonna be the bobo only. You don't need to start sharing things with them that they can't particularly give you any wise advice about. So we have to be careful and conscious about what we say, who we say, because not everybody needs to hear everything. So boundaries need to be set and established, right? Wise people think carefully before they speak. Okay? Verse 24, kind words are as sweet as honey. They also bring health and strength. Because kind words, words of compassion, words that come from a pure place, right? They can encourage and motivate somebody, right? We also spoke about that last week. Whereas, on the contrary, words that tear down, right, and discourage, they can do just the opposite of kind, compassion words, right? It's the same thing with honesty, being honest with somebody versus being deceitful, right? Even if it may hurt them in the beginning, honest words will at least let them go head down the right path. Whereas being deceptive, we all know it always eventually ends in what? Disaster. Ooh, this is good. I love today's Proverbs. Again, verse 26, when a worker feels hungry, it causes him to work more. So it helps him to get food to eat. Wicked people look for ways to hurt other people. The cruel things that they say are like flames of fire. Oof. People who tell lies cause arguments. If you tell people secret, you will lose all of your friends. Let's not go on, let's just say, if you got a friend who feels confident, who trusts you enough to share, like we just got through talking about those boundaries, if you have people in your life who feel comfortable with sharing certain information, today's verse is saying you are not to tell your friends or your family members or your associates secrets. This causes you to lose their friendship. This causes you to lose their trust. Violent people deceive their friends and they lead their friends to do what is wrong. If someone sends secret messages with his eyes, he has a plan to hurt someone. If he squeezes his lips together, he is ready to do an evil thing. Gray hair is like a beautiful crown on your head. People who live in a righteous way may wear it. Eeh. Gray hair as you get older is saying in order to get to that place where you even wear the crown of being able to show your glory of wisdom and living a good life, you got to live a good, righteous life in order to be able to put on your crown one day. A person who is patient is better than a brave soldier. If you can control your anger, you can win any battle. A person who is patient is better than a brave soldier. If you can control your anger, you can win any battle. And the very last verse of this chapter says, people throw dice to choose what is right, but it is the Lord who decides the answer. Woo! If you stuck it out with me until the end, I know a lot of you came in and came out. Those of you who will later come on from TikTok and Facebook and the like, stick this particular chapter out and go back and kind of just go through it on your own. This really is a really good chapter. And again, this chapter is talking about our vision, our plans versus our reality. And I think, no, I know today's verse of today is going to be from verse 32. A person who is patient is better than a brave soldier. If you can control your anger, you can win any battle. So that's going to be our verse of today, Proverbs 16 and 32. Let's read it from another version. Patience is better than power, and controlling one's emotion is better than capturing a city. And when you think of this, a lot of times, if you just want to take for a second and say, okay, well, when you think about somebody with power, right? Capturing a city, you think of a superhero. And so even as you grew up and you watch things on television, even in movies like Bruce Lee and the like, you think of somebody who can do really good stunts, who can accomplish like things that look like heroic heroes, like Batman and Superwoman and whoever you might see on TV, and you might look at them and say they got superpowers, right? And you think of that as an accomplishment, like that's a wow factor, right? But to today's verse of the day comes to check us and say, having self-control and patience is better than your local hero who can capture a city, who has all the wow factors, all the power. Self control and patience far outweighs that. And so, if I'm being honest, I struggled a lot with having patience and self control. And even today, I'm still battling with it at times, right? If you catch me on the wrong day, I might not have as much patience as I had a few days before, and it's something that I'm working on. But what I have found is this particular verse is true even in my own life. Because of my self control that I'm learning, because of patience, I'm able to better assess situations. And therefore, I have a better understanding of what the other person is saying or what's going on, because I'm not so quick with the snapback of the response. And I find, even as we talked about just a few verses earlier, sometimes it's not even worth my energy, right? I save myself a lot of my own peace by just not responding. Mm, really, really, really good. And so, y'all, I enjoyed today's reading Proverbs 16. It helps us understand that we can make our plans, but God knows our motives. So if you out here making plans and you out here saying things and doing things for the wrong reason, God knows your heart. He knows your plans. He knows your motives. You can plan, but God establishes. That's something else we took away from this chapter. You can plan, but God establishes. Another takeaway is God gifted us with a heart of plans and dreams. He wants us to dream big. He wants us to make plans, but He wants us to understand that He also gives us that heart, those things that are on our heart. He places those things in our heart. And He wants us to also understand that He is the one that establishes it. He's the one that makes it our reality. God is the one that makes it happen. And finally, as we just talked about, as I just talked about myself, having self control, having character, and maintaining your character, it matters more. It far outweighs than having mighty powers. Y'all, today's chapter was really good for me. And that's going to be a wrap for Proverbs 16. I'll see y'all back here for Proverbs 17 tomorrow. If you jumped on, if you came over and you just don't know anything about who this girl is reading the Proverbs, I'm Barbara. I'm Bible with Barbara. I show up here. We just started a new series over on TikTok, and I decided to do it over here, to read the chapter over here on YouTube, so that those who couldn't catch me live can come over here and always catch the reading in their own time and just hear the commentary, my personal commentary. Sometimes I give the commentary from the Tony Evans Study Bible, and sometimes I give commentary out of the Women's Study Bible. And so I just come over here every day and I read a proverb. I read a proverb a day. The proverb matches the date. So, like today is June 16th. I read Proverbs 16 and so forth and so forth. So, if you're interested in reading the Proverbs with us and gaining some wisdom and letting the Proverbs check you to see if you're living in foolishness, living folly, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave me a comment in the comments if you're reading along, or simply if you want to say, hey girl, hey, so that we can encourage each other along the way. I'll see you guys tomorrow right here live on YouTube. Later.